Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Pro Wrestling Chat. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Erschen. This week we're discussing Shannon Spruill, otherwise known as Daffney. Yes, the Scream Queen herself, Daffney, Shannon Spruill. We're going to pay tribute to her today. She did pass away a couple of years back, but I never really got a chance to pay my respects on the channel. So we're going to do that today. And there is an upcoming episode of Dark Side of the Ring coming out soon. All about her life and career and her tragic end, of course. Which is one of the saddest stories in the history of professional wrestling. The thing is, in reality, she touched so many women's lives and inspired so many women's careers in wrestling, you know. She was really the first, goth girl, sexy goth girl who's crazy and wild and in wrestling that I can think of. So I feel like a lot of people were inspired by her and used a lot of her character in their own characters. Specifically and mostly Rosemary. You see, Rosemary, who's also in TNA wrestling and has been for a long time now, heavily inspired by Daffney, I think, for sure, as a lot of other women are. So yeah, going all the way back to WCW, the dying days of WCW, that's where she made her debut. She was an actress before that, believe it or not. She was an actress before she was a wrestler. And that's how she got the gig. And she came in as, I remember, David Flair's lover or something like that. Yeah, it was a rough time for WCW. You know, nothing was going right, everything was going downhill, going down the toilet. But she was one of the few bright spots in that company. And I always enjoyed her work. I like when she fought Miss Elizabeth, in her first match, I believe it was. And then Medusa got involved. I remember that. But yeah, she was actually the cruiserweight champion in WCW, which is a huge first for women, right? Getting a men's championship. So that was really cool. So yeah, she is a trailblazer in women's wrestling, for sure. And then she went on she had a brief time in WWE where she had a developmental contract with them. And that was way before, NXT days and all that. But that didn't last too long. And then she went on the independent circuit. She worked for Shimmer and Shine and stuff like that. Did great work there, and then she ended up in TNA Wrestling, which is where she did my favorite work of her career. That's how I know her, basically, is through TNA. I really enjoyed her work there. She really developed her character a lot more in TNA Wrestling. I think she had such a cool look at that look, man. It's awesome. I love the little top hat things that she came in. Really cool. And she was the governor character for a little while, pretending to be like Sarah Palin. She actually had quite a resemblance to Sarah Palin, believe it or not. A completely different look, completely different character. It was kind of interesting. But then, she eventually went back to the classic Daffney character, And she had a lot of great matches against Taylor Wilde and my favorite was when she feuded with Tara in TNA Wrestling. They had some great matches. She did have a horrific and brutal injury, unfortunately, in 2009. Involved in a match between Mick Foley and Abyss, the monster Abyss. And that's when she got involved and outside the ring, and she was climbing up the pole, and Abyss choke slammed her down through the table loaded with barbed wire, and she took a horrendous bump, and it really messed her up. She got a concussion, and she had a brain bleed, and I guess she was never quite the same after that. She did wrestle for a while after that, and had some really good matches. But unfortunately, that put a huge damper on her career. And some would say that kind of was one of the things that led to her mental illness and what ultimately ended in her death, you know. But like I said, you know, she did still come back to TNA after that, and she had some memorable matches after that. And yeah, it's really sad when you think about it. I remember there was this one match they had, which was for the Knockouts Championship, but it was like a brief, like if you win the match, you get all these different briefcases, and in each thing there was something else. One, I think, was like you get fired. One was you get the Knockouts Championship. And one was you have to do a strip tease. And Daffney is the one that ended up with the strip tease, and she went out there reluctantly. She started slowly pulling the thing. But look, she didn't have to, luckily. So. But it was such a weird thing. It was such a weird angle. And this was, of course, during the Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff years, where they didn't know what the heck to do with women's wrestling, really. But anyway, unfortunately she never did get to capture the Knockouts Championship, and I was kind of bummed about that. I'm like, come on. I felt like she deserved to get the Knockouts Championship at least once. I mean, she was one of the top girls at one point, you know. Like I said, taking on the top women, like, you know, the Beautiful People and Tara and all that. And Taylor Wilde, and she had a lot of great matches in TNA, very memorable career. Like I said, inspired so many women in wrestling, and unfortunately things ended on a grim note when she did get injured again by a girl named Rosie Love. They brought her in, and first match in the company, and she brutally injures Daffney, one of the legends. It's like, Jesus Christ. You bring in this girl, you could tell she's just completely green as hell, you know, wet behind the ears, and they let her put Daffney in this brutal move, dropping her full weight on her, you know, and messing her up, you know, almost breaking her neck, you know. She got another concussion again after that, I believe. And that's what really ended Daffney's career. And she tried to do a couple things after that. She had 1 or 2 matches after that, but her contract ended in 2011 with TNA. She had one last match. I think it wasn't even on television. And the funny thing was the crowd was so into it. The crowd was so happy to see Daffney back, you know. But unfortunately, she couldn't do it. She couldn't, you know, cut it in the ring because she wasn't able to have that physicality anymore because of the devastating injuries, you know. And after that, you know, she kind of, you know, just did appearances in the indie scene. And she ended up having a big lawsuit against TNA Wrestling because of that, you know, putting her in harm's way. And she put in a workman's comp claim, and she was fighting hard, you know, fighting hard for women in wrestling to be protected, to get benefits, to get health, and to get help when they need it, when they get seriously injured. It's like, what the hell, you know, they did nothing to protect her, they did nothing to help her, they're just like, okay, you got injured, what's next, you know, get her out of there, you know. And that wasn't going to work for her, and she fought hard for a long time. She did end up settling out of court with them, and she did win. So congratulations to Daffney on that. So that was a big win for her, you know. And a big eye-opener for women in wrestling, you know, and for wrestlers in general that don't have coverage, you know. It's like, come on now. I mean, I'm sure some of the bigger stars in the company did, but, you know, you need to take care of your people. It's like, you need to take care of people, you know. They're putting their lives at risk. They're putting their lives on the line for this business, for your entertainment, for the fans. And this is an athletic sport. It's not a competitive sport, but it is an athletic sport. And like I said, they risk their bodies every day out there, you know. And when they get injured, they need to be compensated, and they need to get health benefits. They need to get protection, and that's what she fought for, and very proud of her for that. And like, she was never the same after that, unfortunately. You know, she had mental illness problems. She really slowed down, and she had a lot of problems. Like I said, she did make appearances on the indie scene, doing conventions and stuff like that. But she's never quite the same, and it was just devastating to her, you know. Yeah, really sad. I remember seeing her on an episode of GAW TV with SoCal Val and Tara and Mickey James. They do a podcast for women's wrestling, and they had Daffney as a guest, and it was like, it was nice to see her, you know, nice to see her happy and in good spirits. And then very, very shortly after that is when she had that horrifying video on Instagram, you know, where she was saying she was alone in the world, and she was basically, you know, suicidal, you know, and that's really, really sad. It was like, oh my God, it's devastating to see that, it's devastating to hear that. And unfortunately, she did commit suicide, and they found her body, and she apparently shot herself in the chest. And she said, she did say, her last post on Instagram was, "I want to dedicate my brain for study for CTE," which is like concussion syndrome. So yeah, she wanted to give her brain a study for science and for, you know, study of concussion injuries and what it can do to you, how it can affect you, how it can affect your brain, how you can have mental illness caused from that, you know. But that's so sad to say whenever I saw that, and I watched all the videos about it, and it's like, oh my God, as the tear came to my eye. It's like so sad to see such a beautiful woman, such a talented woman, such a trailblazer in the business, who felt alone in the world. When she touched so many lives, so many women loved her, so many fans loved her. It's like, why couldn't she be saved? Like, and people tried to save her, you know, that day. You know, they did try to reach out. A lot of people tried to reach out to her to help her, but, you know, it was too late. She was too far gone at that point. There was nothing anybody could have done. And you can't blame anybody for that, of course. But it's so tragic, it's so sad, and it's just devastating. But she's in a better place now, so rest in peace, Shannon Spruill, the Scream Queen Daffney. So I just wanted to pay tribute to her on my channel, and yeah, I'll always remember Daffney, always remember Shannon Spruill, and I think she's a legend in this business. And thank you for everything you did, Shannon, and I hope you're resting in peace up there, and I hope and thank you for joining me, Sean Patrick Erschen, at the Pro Wrestling Chat. Tune in and lock up.